It is so very nice to see that Hall of Fame face radiant, thinner. It looks like thinner since he got away from the savagery of what it is that he did for a living, even though he's out here eating all the time as part of NFL Tailgate Takedown, a competitive series. It premiered January 4th on the Food Network. It's Discovery Plus now, where it's streaming. Vince Wilfork with us. Thank you, Vince. Good to see you. You are skinnier, though, right? You have lost some weight here since getting away from that madman Belichick.
I lost a little bit, just a little bit, 80 pounds, just a little bit, but I feel good.
It is nice to see you. I have always enjoyed the way that you talk about your wife and your relationship. So I will ask you now, how romantic is Vince Wilfork?
Vince Wilfork is very romantic. I mean, wow. You can't see that?
You are very comfortable talking about how you met your wife, how much you love her, how important she is to you, and that's the reason that I asked the question. I've always admired that about you, that you have no problems whatsoever professing your love.
Well, the thing is, I got a new wife now. Me and Bianca didn't make it, so I moved on. We moved on. It was for the better for both of us, and but we are real. Good friends. We are parents first. And the love I have for her, I have for her. But my new wife, that we just got married, October 8th of 2020, and I'm happy. In life, things happen, and you have to do things in life. Sometimes you have to make the tough decision that's the right decision. And I think I was at the part of my life where I needed to grow and evolve. And in order for me to do that and become a better person for myself, it was things I had to do in my life. And that was one of the things I had to do. I had to kind of put myself first so I can be better for my kids, be better for my next partner. And you know what? I'll tell you one thing about it is I never thought life would be this happier where I'm at in life now. And it's just because I'm a complete person. Because I finally got a chance to figure out who I was. And that allowed me to be better for my wife now and for my kids. And we all go through things in life, but the key to life is you have to learn lessons and you have to be able to go through, and you're going to have to be able to take some tough decisions and do what's right, even though it's tough. It's the right thing to do. And that's what I had to do. And that's what I had to encounter in my personal life for me to become the person that I am today. And which is the person I am today is I can't be any happier. I can't be any more lovable. I can't be at any more peace in life at where I'm at today. So everything happens for a reason. And it's good to have your kids see you in a totally different light. I'm not the madman that I used to be when I played, so I'm a more gentle and understanding type of person now because I took the time to understand who I was, and I had to get away from, football, which I've known my whole life, over 20 years. I had to get away from that and kind of reinvent myself as a man and as a person first. And I'm better for everybody now.
Things just got a little awkward there. So let me be the first on this show to congratulate you on the new wife, Vince. Congratulations on feeling whole, feeling complete, Let's talk tailgating. Yeah.
Don't feel awkward, buddy.
Dan, no, I don't.
Oh, it's too late for that. It's much too late for that, Vince. I appreciate you soothing me in this regard, but I already feel terribly awkward. And then my teammate comes to my defense with not a question, but just a healthy congratulations and the further pointing out of that awkwardness because he's always good for me in those spots. I'm also thinking of divorce, Vince, after many, many years, 18 years, with a partner who does things like that to you.
Don't be that. Don't be. Trust me, don't be.
How are you a more complete person, and how did football keep you from? How did football keep you from being a complete person?
Well, football is so demanding. I've been playing football basically for over 20 years. And I came into the game, and I got drafted. Losing my parents, I was a kid still. In high school, I was a kid still. And, you make decisions young think you know everything, but for me, I made decisions, didn't know, because I lost my parents in the most critical time in my life. So, I got married and I started a family, and that was the most beautiful thing to me is my kids, and Bianca blessed me with two beautiful kids. And I love her for that, and I love my kids to death. And it kind of, with my career going, football, I couldn't stop. It was like a train that never slowed down. And even if it slowed down, I was a conductor. I had to stay on the train. So slow or fast, the train had to continue to roll with my career, and you just don't, in my instance, I just didn't grow the way that I needed to grow just because of what I've been through with my, losing my parents, and I don't have a lot of family that I was close to. So it was like I was by myself, and, Bianca helped me with a lot of those things. And still, it was just not having family. So football was my life. Football was my love, and I dedicated everything to football. Every inch I had in me was football. So when I got out of the game, when I got closer and I got older, I started realizing some stuff that I kind of, didn't realize I was doing, or was realizing that it was me, always put myself on the back burner, and I would always be in feelings, and I got counseling and everything. So I took it very seriously, trying to figure out who I was. In order for me to figure out who I was, it was things that I had to go through, and it was nobody's fault. We were young, me and Bianca, we were young. That's just what it is. And so it ain't the first time it's going to happen. It won't be the last time. We had a great relationship, but it was just time for me to grow and move on, because I wasn't happy with the person I was. I was not happy. And the only way for me to fix that was to fix things that was around me that I felt that was causing me to be the way I was. And when I did that, I was fine. So it was nothing she did that, I can say I blame and bash her on the head. No, it was nothing like that. It was more about me finding who I was. But with a career that I had, it was hard for me to find that while I played and while I was still a young guy here, and didn't have no outreach and outlet, or no parents or no family to tell me to keep me on the path. So I had to figure a lot of things out. So when I figured it out, I made the best of it. And like I say, I don't regret nothing I ever done in my life today. I don't regret nothing.
Vince, if I told you back in 2016 when you retired that 8 years later Tom Brady would still be doing it, still be winning divisions, win a couple of Super Bowls, has a home playoff game this weekend, you would have told me what?
Oh, I don't know. I would have always thought he would be playing, but I just didn't know the type of level he'd be playing at, especially when he left New England. To go down in Tampa and to continue his legacy and continue to win and continue to put his team and himself in a position for a chance at another Super Bowl, it's remarkable what he's done. I mean, just to look at this guy, and for me, I look at him, I always pay attention to quarterbacks' mobility and their arm strength, because those are the two things that tells me if a quarterback if they still got it or they don't. And when I look at Tom, it seems to me Tom moves better now. And his arm strength, it hasn't lacked any strength. So people ask me, how long you think Tom can play? Well, my question is Tom can play as long as Tom wants to play, and Tom bodies allows him to play. I don't know how long that's going to be, but whatever that is for Tom, he knows when it happens. But for now, Tom still got some thread on them tires.
I don't think that you've ever said a bad public word about anything Patriots related, but do you have any hurt or resentment about the fact that you, at the end of your career, had to go somewhere else?
No. When I was young, it took a lot of things personal when I was young, especially dealing with, business, being a Patriot in the NFL. And I would remember one of my teammates pulled me to the side when I was very young, second year in the league, and he told me, he said, "Listen, when you realize that as an owner and as a head coach, you have a 53-man roster as a head coach, and then as an owner, you have all these employees and you have X amount of dollars to spend. It's not personal. They have to take this much money and fit it in this much people. He said, when you realize how business work and the mindset they have to have, you'll see that it's not personal. And I thought about it. I say, yeah, you're right. Because I thought they was picking on me. They don't want to pay me. They don't want to give me the contract. It was me and me. And I'm like, no, it's not me. I got 52 other guys. And that's not including the practice squad guys. We have a whole roster that they have to share this money. We have to figure out the best way. So I learned at a very young age, business is business. Sometimes things happen where it's the best thing to do. So I knew it was going to come a point in time where it was either I stay and take less or I move on with my career and keep it moving. And I say, I'm going to move on with my career and keep it moving. There's no hard feelings. It's business because they have a job to do and I have a job to do. I know what my worth is. They know what their worth is. They know what they're willing to pay. I know what I'm willing to take. So if we can't meet, I have to move on. And that's exactly what I did with no hard feelings. I'm a Patriot for life. Believe that and always know that.
The complete man who sits in front of us today and looks back at the self-described madman, what are the examples that you could look at and be like, man, I was crazy. I was crazy. I had to be crazy in order to do my job well, be consumed, and be violent and be excellent.
Well, that's funny you said it because, I haven't worked out like that until like now. When I finished football, I walk. That's what I would do. I'll walk and I might do some push-ups here and there, but I walk. So I never lift weights until like this year, like no. And first time I went to the gym, I couldn't lift 185 pounds. And you talking about a guy, my warm-ups was 315. You see? So now here I am in the gym with my wife, and I got weights on that I used to look at the little wide receivers lift, and I can't even lift it now. So, and now I said, okay, let me see if I could I won't worry about bench. Let me just do my push-up. I'll do 5 sets of 10 push-ups and I'll be good. But I couldn't do 5 push-ups. So I started telling myself, I said, golly, all those times where guys would tell me like how strong I am, it's unbelievable what I do because of my size. It really never dawned on me because all I remember my whole life, I've always been strong. High school, college, pro, I've always been strong. I never been when I first started lifting weights, I was lifting 275, 300. But now all of a sudden away from football, weight loss and away from the game and not lifting, man, I go in and I see it's basically I have to retrain myself as a normal person. So it kind of gives me and it shed light on who I was and what I was able to do and how in shape and how conditioned I was to just take it after year after year after year after year, and really never had no setbacks, no injuries, but one major injury. And I've been very healthy my career. So that it put it in perspective for me.
Give me one name, because you have been strong all your life, and usually it was double teams, but just top of your head, one name, a guy whose strength surprised you or a guy whose strength impressed you playing against him.
Well, Brian Waters, when he was in Kansas City, then he came over to New England. He was strong. I mean, he was strong. He was strong. And, he was 308 pounds, 310 pounds, but he was strong. And I just didn't know how strong he was, until he came over. But I've always known about, Kansas City with Will Shields and Willie Roaf. Those guys were always strong. And playing against him, you would never think how strong he was. But until I started practicing against him every day and just start understanding, like he was a very strong dude. But it was very rare that I ran into somebody who was as strong as me. So that was one of my gifts that I had, and I understood it. I understood my strengths and weaknesses. And I didn't have too many weaknesses, you see. So it was very rare that I went into a game saying, okay, it's going to be a long day because this guy's strong.
Name one.
Yeah.
Name one of your weaknesses. Name one. Name one of your weaknesses. I don't believe you have one.
I'll go to my grave.
You don't have
without
one.
telling anyone.
Because you don't have one is why. I believe you're lying to us. I believe you are lying to us publicly. You do not have a weakness.
We all have a weakness.
You did not have a weakness. What was your weakness as a player, Wilfork?
I'm going to keep my weakness to myself.
There was none. That's why you're a liar.
Vince, was Jacoby Myers throwing the ball back to Mac Jones the single most shocking thing you have ever seen, period?
I mean, it was some bonehead plays, I've seen this year from the New England Patriots. And it's just it's not the Patriot way, honestly. It's a lot of things they did. I remember when I played there, we used to basically laugh at other teams doing these bonehead plays, you see. And I think a lot of it just come with people trying to do too much. People try to listen to everybody else and what everybody else is telling you what you need to do. So every individual go out there and try to fix something on their own. And it doesn't work like that. You have to believe in one another and you have to trust in one another. From the coaching to the playing to the teammates, you have to be on one accord. And I think this year it was a mixture of that. Sometimes it was that, but it was never everybody. It was just a mixture here and there. On one accord, was it? One guy did this, one guy did. It just wasn't consistent enough. So when you don't play consistent football or any type of sport, you look discombobulated. And that's what it looked like they were all year. They just never could get over that hump and couldn't really put it together.
I've got so many questions for him. He's with us on behalf of the NFL Tailgate Takedown. It's a competition series. It premiered January 4th on the Food Network. It's streaming on Discovery Plus. We will ask him about that in a second. But before I do, you are an outdoorsman. You like to do your own yard work. You garden. You're a fisherman. Vince Wilfork, if he was our neighbor, if he was the neighbor, we were talking earlier this week, if J.J. Watt were your neighbor, if Vince Wilfork is our neighbor, what is that experience going to be like for us?
Well, I tell you what, you will always laugh. You'll always have food. And you will have a fun neighbor. You will have a neighbor that every time you go back home, you calling a friend or a family member, telling how cool he is because he's so down to earth and he's such a normal guy. And,
can I borrow stuff? Can I borrow stuff from him? Is he going to help me with my lawn work? Is he going to tell me my shrubs are shitty?
Absolutely. I'm a great neighbor. Absolutely. I'm a people's person. I love everybody. So that's who I am. So all my neighbors I never had a bad neighbor. No neighbor can say I was ever a bad neighbor.
If your neighbor came over and needed, say, an egg, would you give them an egg from your fridge?
I'll give them 12 eggs.
12 eggs. Wow.
Wait, but Vince, hold on a second. How many times before the neighbor comes over asking for stuff because you're so kind and nice, where you're like, hey, you know what? Not today.
Enough. Okay? A boundary. Quit eating all my food. Never.
Never, because you know what? I will fix them because the second time they do it, I'll go to them and ask them for something.
Attaboy.
And then they'll realize I'll go over there every day. And they'll realize, I'm not going back over there because I don't want him over here. So that's what we're going to do.
No, you're right. You gave him a dozen eggs. I mean,
I don't want to try and out-borrow food from this particular human being.
I'll go over there for everything. Do you have a shovel? Oh, no shovel? Okay. Do you have some envelopes? Do you have some cake batter? Do you have flour? I'll go, do you have some extra water? I like bottled water. Do you have that? I will go over there and ask them before any and everything.
Vince, I'm a huge Food Network fan. I'll watch anything on Food Network. Do you have any favorite Food Network celebrity chefs that you've watched or maybe encountered doing your show?
Well, I was a big fan of all of them, honestly. I was such in awe working with Sonny, my co-host, and being able to meet, Eddie Jackson, ex-football player. Now he's a chef and he's, have his own shows. Kelsey, Bernard Clark, she's a chef. Ali Khan, he's a chef. So all these guys, I just pick their brain and just hear them talk and I follow them. I love making things. I love looking at, certain stuff and just understanding like the whole makeup on it. And just to sit around, it's like that's like a regular person sitting in a locker room who love football, sitting in a locker room with a bunch of football guys and just listening to them talk football. So to me, that's how it was. It's me in this arena, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to these chefs about cooking and what about this season and how do this go together? And they would just how they talk, I would just sit there like a little kid and just like, oh my God, this is it. But it made me feel at home from the very first time I ever met them, especially Sonny, my co-host. I mean, she took me up under her wing and she basically said, listen, this is how we're going to do it. Just follow my lead. You do it like this, you do that. And if I did something wrong, she said, you don't have to do that. You can do this. So she basically was coaching me. And I when I tell you, personality just came out. I just didn't know the ins and out of hosting. But she's the one that really, her and the team, they were the one that really got me out of my shell and got me comfortable being a host and moving around and how to maneuver and how to ask questions and how to do this and how to stand. Because I was like, whatever, give me some food, I'm good, you know. But they told me how to be a professional, how to be a host. And a lot of credit go to Sonny and the production team.
Big fan of Sonny. So if you weren't on Beat Bobby Flay and you competed against Bobby Flay and you had to pick like your signature dish that would beat Bobby Flay, what would that meal be?
It'll be barbecue, it'll be ribs. I'll put anybody to sleep with my ribs. I don't care who you are.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't care who you are. I don't care what restaurant you is. I don't care what chef you. I don't care if you Bobby Flay. It doesn't matter. I will put you to sleep with my ribs. Now anything else is different, but my ribs is legendary.
Give me, Vince, I don't imagine, because you were menacing and you were always a professional, and I don't think you were much of a talker on the field. I may have this wrong. Was there an offensive lineman, or are there some names you can give me that were willing to talk shit to Vince Wilfork, or did that not ever happen?
No, I was never a really big talker, like you said. I wasn't that. That wasn't me, you know. I've always had a good relationship. When I was younger in the league, you know, me and Buffalo Bills, we used to always have it out. For some reason, you know, it was always something with Buffalo that me and some offensive linemen get into it. But over time, you know, I just think the respect, you know, I started respecting people more. So they received and they started respecting me more. So one of my toughest, you know, opponents that I love to death, and I'm telling you, he's probably one of the guy that gave me the most fits every time we played is Nick Mango. And you talk about a sweet person, such a good dude. I mean, we battled in the trenches. He was the only guy after a game I would shake his hand or talk to going off the field, because I walk off the field, I won't talk to nobody. But he was the only one that I would find him and give him a handshake, wish him good luck and everything. He was the only one because I respected him so much. He was that good. He was really that good. Probably the best center I've ever faced because of his size, his strength. He was smart. He was able to block one-on-one. Most of these centers I played with, they had help, you know. But Nick, they believed in, hey, if we have to block Vince one-on-one with Nick, we like our chances, you know. So I give Nick a lot of respect. And he probably was my toughest opponent that I faced. And we battled.
We'll get you out on this one. Again, he's with us on behalf of the NFL Tailgate Takedown. It is on Discovery Plus now, streaming. Food Network. It premiered January 4th. We've asked you before. You said that when you eat, you didn't eat that much. This was a heavier Vince Wilfork. You said you weren't somebody who would eat obsessively and hugely, hugely excessively. But if you had to brag about a time that Vince Wilfork shoveled down just an enormous amount of food to impress someone, what would be that amount of food?
First of all, I wouldn't never eat and impress anybody. That's first off. But if my choice of food, if I have to sit down and my choice of food that you could see me devour, some chicken wings now. Chicken wings.
How many? How many? How many?
Back then, easy. 24, 30, easy.
I don't feel like that's that much, though, Vince.
He's saying easy. He's just getting started. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Like when you ask for appetizers, like, yeah, give me 5 orders of wings. Yeah, 30 of them. Yep, that's appetizer. Then I'll get you your other meal. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, very good.
That was a startup, baby. Then I'm going into my burgers.
All right, now you're talking.
Right, exactly. Just an
appetizer.
Wings
with appetizer.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so your appetizer is 5 plates of wings, and
Yes.
then you bring the meat.
And then maybe more wings.
Okay,
Right.
all right,
Yes.
very
They
good.
only come in 6. They only come 6 order. Oh, give me 5 orders. Yeah, just for me.
Vince, always good seeing you. Thank you for making the time for us, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. You have a good one now.
Thank you, Vince.
The entire shipping container, like me, is wincing Jessica more than most about what just happened with Vince Wilfork. I'm rattled and not feeling great about myself right now. But before we get to mocking me, happy 59th birthday to Jeff Bezos.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Congratulations, you did it, Jeff Bezos. Jessica, it seems like your skeleton collapsed on itself. You cringed inside of your skin. At what point did the awkwardness become too much
Immediately.
for you? Oh.
Yeah. She texted me at one point, I'm crying on the inside.
I did text Stugotz that.
Let's play that sound again, exactly as it happened, just so that people can can absorb it one more time. Yes, because we didn't have enough fun with him about it. You are very comfortable talking about how you met your wife, how much you love her, how important she is to you, and that's the reason that I asked the question. I've always admired that about you, that you have no problems whatsoever professing your love.
Well, the thing is, I got a new wife now. You know, me and Bianca didn't make it. So I moved on. We moved on. It was for the better for both of us. And but we are real, good friends. We are parents first. And the love I have for her, I have for her.
He answered it so well for you to put him in such an uncomfortable position that it made me feel even worse.
Right.
He handled it so. If it was just awkward and we all laughed about it after, fine. But no, he was earnest, and that made me feel even sadder on the inside.
This coming from a guy who forgot his anniversary. Holy shit.
He was so gentle. That could have been so much worse.
He really was. But Mike and I were kind of laughing. For years on this show, you have you think Vince Wilfork is better at marriage than anyone else that we've ever had on the show?
I knew it would be one of your first questions. For me, it's him dancing in front of a rib rack. For you, it's his marriage. Well, former marriage.
His second marriage now.
But also, this is a good opportunity for you in the listening audience to Google Vince Wilfork dancing in front of a rib rack.
Midway through the interview, because you touched on weight loss, his divorce, I asked you in your ear, is there any financial problems that we should bring up now? We've hit on all the awkward comments. Let's just keep the train going.
Well, Mike does word association with Vince Wilfork, and while Jessica is crying on the inside for one set of reasons, I've got two reasons for crying on the inside. One, just how thoroughly embarrassing that was to experience as a human being and journalist. And two, love just died because I associate Vince Wilfork with forever undying love because Mike, you say I was playing the hits on Vince Wilfork, but what I didn't ask him about that he volunteered was both his parents dying within a month of each other and how that first wife helped drag him through what I believe to be a horrible, horrible thing that a University of Miami player experienced, more horrible than most. And so his story getting to the league, I associate with parents die and love rescues him, and love died.
Yeah,
during that interview.
I wasn't prepared for how it started too, because he said he had a new wife now, and I'm like, hold on, there's a lot to process here. I still have to mourn the dissolution of your original marriage before I can even think about being happy for you right now.
Jessica, I'm not kidding when I tell you, if you were crying on the inside, I did not just skate because Vince Wilfork was gentle. I skated because halfway through his answer of I have a new wife, I'm like, oh no, she died, and I did not know it.
That was because their love was so eternal that could only be the way.
Wow. I thought that divorce is me skating.
You're a hopeless romantic. What tragedy has befallen our beloved Bianca?
Winning him, put him on the pole.
Amicably? No.
Did love die during that Vince Wilfork interview? And do you associate Vince Wilfork first and foremost with love?
You probably covered this, but man, what a tough spot they put you in.
Well, let's back.
What do you mean?
You know, you got to know that Dan's going to play the hits. You had to run a quick Google.
Chris Cote, why are you're cringing?
Well, I do the interview research around here, so
Right.
I guess I should from now on. If anyone was married, I'm just gonna make sure they're still married.
Good.
Because I saw these quotes. These are from
glad we learned something.
this wasn't years and years ago. I saw recent quotes.
It's not your fault.
I mean,
It's not your fault.
Recent quotes about him being happily
no,
married.
but this is my.
to someone other than
This only
Bianca.
happened like in August.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I feel better about this because I think Dan was just going there as from his previous knowledge. I don't think Dan read anything on the sheet. He was like, "Oh, they're happily married." He looks at
Playing
Vince
the hits,
Wilfork
yes.
and he thinks of happy marriage.
So that's how you rationalize.
That's how I rationalize that it wasn't my fault.
That's how you slept last
I
night.
think there's something
Attaboy.
to that, by the way. Because he was going to go to the Bianca question no matter what.
Stugotz, we got out of here yesterday a little bit before the news came down that the Dolphins season is over and that Tua Tagovailoa is not medically cleared to play in this game, which I guess stands to reason in retrospect, right? You can't just keep having concussions and not put yourself at further risk. In the reporting that's been around the doctors factor in what has happened recently to you with your brain before clearing you. So the decision has been made for Tua, for the Dolphins, for the organization of not having the terrible optics of, well, what happens in this playoff game if he gets hurt again? How much liability is there for the league? Because we're already at a place where we discuss this quarterback unlike any quarterback before him.
Yeah, been there for a while. It's interesting. I mean, he's not going to play, and I think that's for Tua, that's a good thing for his long-term health. What I find interesting about all of this is what do the Dolphins do moving forward at the quarterback position, because he was playing so well, but you have a guy who seems to get concussed more than just about any quarterback in the NFL. And so what do you do moving forward? Because you have a big financial decision ahead of you, and maybe guys like Tom Brady want to come here for a year or two. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
It's fair, Stugotz. I wish we didn't get that fast conversationally to what is the next transaction. I get why. I understand, because it is a concern. Your organization, you want to know if you have a franchise quarterback, and this muddies things in a way that's super confusing because his passer rating is great, but there's brain stuff here that is dangerous and feels fragile and is hard to build around. I simply don't want to get there yet on the transaction, on what Tom Brady, on what's next, without stopping for a moment before replacing him. This was, by the standards of an all-in football season with pressures all around it, this was an enormous season for the Miami Dolphins, and progress, when it comes to health in that sport, which is super flimsy, is not linear. This was progress, not just with the Dolphins.
I agree.
With the league.
Yes.
This represents whatever small amount of progress you get from, hey, the brain injuries are really rampant in the sport and dangerous, and this guy needs to not play, when at any time in human history before now, he would have just kept playing. There were no concussion tests. The ramifications were what they were for a bunch of old quarterbacks who were being tackled on AstroTurf 40 years ago.
And it's a great thing. I'm totally with you because that's why they say don't leave it up to the players. And this is now up to the doctors, and the doctors are telling you, hey, he's been concussed 3 or 4 times this season that we know of, and we're not going to allow that guy, even in a playoff game, to play again. I'm guessing there are some fans who are upset by it.
I think very few, Stugotz. I think once the doctors take it out...
You think the fans like the progress?
I think, no, I don't think they like or need the progress, and I'm sure there are many fans who simply want to have a chance in Sunday's game.
Right.
But I do believe that the stopping point on even Tuanon is, well, if the doctors say he can't play, I can only be so upset about that if I'm not just an asshole.
Wouldn't real progress be if they cleared him from concussion protocol, but the team was like, no, we're not playing? No, I'm serious. That's what the people have been kind of wanting the Dolphins to do, regardless of whether he clears.
So you're cleared, but the team's like,
this
no,
guy's
we care
not
about
playing.
Tua.
Like, the doctors honestly saved the Dolphins from that, honestly. Like, I would have
having to make that decision.
So, like, that, I think, would be even more progress if he cleared protocol and the Dolphins were just like, no.
Do you think we'll see that? Like, do you think if he was cleared that Mike McDaniel would say, hey, you know what? Not this weekend. I don't know. I'm not certain a coach would do that.
It is not, I don't believe, the moral responsibility of the team to keep a player healthy. In that sport, like, you cannot promise or guarantee that to any player. I understand what you're saying there, but the idea that Mike McDaniel would step in with ultimate humanity and be like, I understand he's been cleared. This affects our playoff chances. I'm going to decide with the human being. I would love for Mike McDaniel to be the one who chooses that morally, because human decency, but that we're not there yet. Like, the progress isn't there yet.
This is actually one of the areas I was disappointed in Mike McDaniel earlier this season in that first Buffalo game in week 3 when we all saw him stumble,
right.
Which, kind of grossed out all of us. And with the information that McDaniel would have had, yes, he passed a concussion test, but I was hoping that Mike McDaniel would sort of think differently like this too. And he sort of, in that moment to me, proved that he's sort of any other football coach. And I think that if he got a clean bill of health from Tua, that he would be playing on Saturday, or Sunday. I think he is. I think he's just a football coach that wants to throw his best quarterback out there.
You guys, I think, and look, man, I was loud about saying Tua shouldn't play. But you guys are wanting a coach to work against his own best interests and against the advice of doctors to make the correct moral choice about human care for a human being. And he presides over throwing a bunch of people out there who are going to be turned to shred by the meat grinder.
But Chris Cote is right. I doubt we're going to see it. And I, too, thought Mike McDaniel, and I don't know what I'm doing there with McDaniel, where he would be the one coach.
He seems smarter, more...
Right.
He's not a caveman.
That might do it, but this is progress. What's happening right now is progress. But what Chris is laying out for you, as unlikely as it is, would be more progress.
Well, that's
where he's cleared to play and the coach says, no, I care about you. You're not playing.
That's what everyone was saying to me on Monday when I came in here, and I was like, if he's cleared to play, I'm cool with him playing. I feel like that's almost what Dan's saying right now. And I just think that's...
see, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a tough ask of McDaniel. I'm not saying, yeah, I would love for these guys to behave as Saint McDaniel, who runs on behalf of, human decency. He is here always, not for the scoreboard, but for the heart of his players. That would be grand. It's also not professional football in any way. It's not.
It's not to say that it can't happen one day, Dan, that maybe there is a coach out there. It's not Mike McDaniel, though.
Doctors have cleared you. You're the #1 passer rating in the sport at this young an age since Marino. Yeah. No. I don't want to win at Buffalo. I care about you so much that I will punch myself in the face again and again. Like that, you're asking for him to be Brother Teresa.
We're not asking for him to do anything. It's unlikely. We're saying that would be more progress than what we have today. Because today we have progress. We agree.
Stugotz, yes, I understand.
That, levels of progress.
I understand that the moment that I, on this microphone, say this is progress, that your immediate reaction is going to be, but there should be more progress. Yes, that would be great, too.
It's sports radio.
That would be wonderful if there were more progress and everybody wouldn't, bite my face off when I said, hey, Tua needs to not play again this season. That would be great. If everybody was humanly decent and sports customer base was like, I don't care that my entire season has gone to total shit because I'm going to lose to Buffalo.
Dan, you're playing both sides.
Chris Cote feels like the world wanted to bite his face off.
On Monday, you guys all looked at me like I was like, how could you say that right now? That if he's cleared by doctors, I'm okay with him playing because I assume that they, who are much smarter than me, then we get into the discussion if the team has his best interest. I hope that they do, and I want to trust them. I understand that there's a lot of money in here, so I don't know if it's nefarious, but I like to think that these doctors are decent humans, and they're going to, protect Tua from himself.
You love the Dolphins. You want them to win. You're going to Buffalo. What if the doctors did clear Tua for this week's game?
I've been in a group chat with people.
And Mike McDaniel refused to start him because he cares about him. What would your reaction be?
That's such a good question.
I don't know what my reaction would be. I can be honest with you and tell you that there's been a group chat.
Dan answer it.
There's been a group chat. All hardcore Dolphin fans spending a lot of money to go to Buffalo, and we were there was nobody complaining when he was ruled out yesterday. We're all just like, in Skylar we trust. We'll run through a wall for him, and that's it. Let's get drunk.
My answer, though, would be really easy. I would be stunned and obviously applaud Mike McDaniel for caring about the human being there over his own team's chances. I just think it's an unbelievable thing for you guys to expect a football coach to do. I felt like the organization should protect him and itself by making a total organization decision from owner on down. Nah, he don't play again.
We're debating back here whether that would be "Look at Me, Louie" from Mike McDaniel. He's cleared to play, but I will not allow him to play.
We're really overdoing it with technically, this whole show is "Look at Me, Louie." Look at us.
Yeah.
Talking on microphones.
Mm-hmm.
Look at us, Louie.
Front of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, we have to draw the line with what we're calling "Look at Me, Louie."
This Tua instance has really shown me the value in not saying a goddamn thing.
And the narrative around the two.
I stand by what I said Monday, Chris.
I
don't remember
stand
what
by
it
what
was,
I
but I
haven't.
stand
The
by it.
narrative, I think the narrative behind this Tua thing is all because of these damn fingers. The damn fingers thing
Dude,
that he
we
did
saw
in
him
Cincinnati.
stumble.
Because Kyle Pickett has had 2 concussions this year.
Cut his fingers off.
Nobody's-
Chris
It's
Cote.
Kenny.
Kenny.
Yeah,
Whatever.
$2.
Nobody's
just say Kyle
talking.
Pickett?
I combined Kyle Pitts, I think. Kyle Pitts and
Oh.
Kenny
What
Pickett.
happened there too?
He was so bad.
Yep. Sophomore slump.
So he was
Terrible
so good in
quarterbacking
college.
situation.
But
that's not his fault.
Kenny Pickett had 2 concussions this year. And nobody's like talking about how the Steelers organization. I can't believe they're putting him back out there. He didn't have the finger thing. I just think there's a narrative
yes,
around this
Finger thing helps.
But I'm
Like
just saying,
the stories surrounding them matter. The first one, which wasn't even diagnosed as a concussion, we see him try to get up and then fall because he can't stand up straight. The second one, we see his fingers splayed, and the third one, he says, "I can't even remember the interceptions I threw." Like those
there's been
stories
a lot of
surrounding.
concussions. There's been a lot of concussions
Yes.
this year, and the
We
narrative.
should take all of them seriously. I agree.
But narrative matters. Of course, it matters.
Well, you guys didn't let me talk about the Steelers all season. How about that? Because we're on a stupid Miami radio show. Oh, Jess is so mad that they're talking about the Dolphins on their Miami show.
one team is in
Why
the
did she
playoffs
move
and the
to
other isn't.
Miami? Guess what, Chris Whittingham? You're going to lose the first playoff game to the Buffalo Bills just like the Steelers would have.
This is a football issue more than a Dolphins issue. Is really what
Hear,
my
hear.
point is.
Here, here. I'm kind of with
It's not
Whittingham,
on
though.
us.
Count the same on the Dolphins as on every other team, Chris. I don't disagree with you.
I'm but a red-blooded
look at the
American
news
man.
stream. The
I
news
want
stream-
Tua to play.
The news stream values like.
Are you blaming the mainstream media for Tua's concussion
I
coverage?
am.
Mainstream.
What are you doing?
I'm saying that the narrative around this Tua concussion is way stronger than when there's
He
teams.
looked paralyzed on television.
Come on, you're doing well. Keep it going.
I mean, you guys are like saying things loud right now. My point is still stands. The narrative around the
So
Dolphins
unfair.
is way more extreme than every team has had concussions.
You should be grateful for that, by the way. It sucks when the mainstream media doesn't talk about your team. And that's when Mike Tomlin comes out and wins 9 games out of nowhere, and everyone's like, how the hell did that happen? Guess what? I watched all those shitty games. We didn't talk about a single one. You're
But-
lucky your team gets coverage.
I'm kind of with Whittingham, though, from this standpoint. I could see Mike McDaniel. It's not Dan Campbell. It's not a caveman. Like this guy, he went to Yale. He seems different, seems to operate differently.
He's not bald.
Yale
I
Schmale.
could see him being one of the guys that says, my quarterback's healthy.
Colts
Yeah, but not
catching
today.
strays today.
Yeah.
It's just.
What am I doing there?
What was Dan doing with the Dana White is bald thing? It was just,
That's why I brought it back.
Look, RNC, fine. White, okay. Bald? Come on.
Chris Cote, one of the things that I'm enjoying about you heading into the fray with the controversial take of if the doctors clear him, he should be allowed to play, and then being shouted down is, you thought it was safe to hide behind the doctors. You're an idiot. You thought it was safe back there. You thought if the
He still hasn't answered my question.
Yes.
The only place where it's safe, Chris, is not saying anything.
Answer his question.
Learn from me.
No one's asked me where my DeMar Hamlin tweet was. Just stay quiet.
Answer Stugotz's question, Chris Cote, of if the doctors had cleared Tua and McDaniel raised his arms up and like, not on my watch, I care about human beings, human decency will reign, would you have criticized him as a look at me Louie and blamed him for ruining the Dolphins season?
And don't leave out that Chris is traveling to the game to see it. I mean,
Not publicly.
My man.
See you, Gary.